Well, folks, it's time to talk Civil War, the brand new A24 film that just released in theaters. Before you ask, no Iron Man, no Captain America, and this is very different from the actual historical event. This is very much fiction, but this is basically taking a look at what if there was a modern-ish day Civil War that took place. That's what Alex Garland brings us with this film. And it's quite interesting, to say the least. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was not really ever looking forward to this film. And when it was announced to the point of getting trailers and all that, I just thought it was going to be another boring war movie. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of war movies. So I thought it was just going to be like a bunch of random action and blah, 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 whatever. But this movie was very interesting. Obviously, you have the concept itself, it being a modern day civil war where you have Texas and California teaming up and going after the rest of the country. That alone was interesting. But what really grasped my attention with this film and what really surprised me, because I didn't even know this, I don't think I watched any of the trailers. I really did not know much going into this film. I really only watched it because, hey, it's A24. Love A24. And second of all, I mean, it's getting great reviews and everybody's saying it's one of, if not the best movie of 2024 so far. So I was really intrigued by that. And before we get too far into this, I will say, not quite the best movie of the year so far, at least in my opinion. Doom Part 2 is still right up there, but it is high on the list. It is one of the better films of the year. I'd say maybe my third favorite movie of the year, but it's a pretty fantastic film. It's a really intense film, with a lot of, there's flexibility and emotions here, because you have this war going on, and while there's not a whole lot of comedy, I appreciate the small little moments of comedy because you have these characters who are just, again, they're in the midst of war. So them finding those little breaks of happiness, those little bits of escapism, I thought was really special. And because they're like really small moments that, like, in our normal day-to-day lives we would see happen, but we don't really appreciate them. We kind of take them for granted. But in this movie, they have these small moments, and it's amazing. So I thought that was really great to see. But the thing I really loved about this movie is that they bring this story to us from the perspective of a group of journalists, which I thought was great. I mean, I've always been a fan of journalism. I've always been interested in that. But specifically here, mainly photography, because we're dealing with some war photographers. That's what Kirsten Dunst's character is. And it's interesting, the dynamics with these characters, them just being so numb to this violence. And it's something I never really even thought about before, about how this is a real career that people in real life out there, they put their life on the line to go be out there in the middle of these wars just to take pictures and then send them off to be sold to a magazine or something like that. It's crazy. And obviously one of the questions that comes into play with that is the morality of that whole idea. And that's something that's definitely on display and discussed here in this film. That's kind of the big theme of this movie, is the morality of everything that's going on here. I would say really nobody is in the right. It's very much everybody's in a gray area for sure. There's a lot of people just killing people for, I wouldn't say for fun, but just really for no reason. I mean, completely unarmed, innocent people just getting shot and killed for no reason. But seeing that from the perspective of these journalists, especially when we have this young girl who she wants to be a war journalist, a war photographer. So she's getting a glimpse at this for the first time, really, and really getting into the field for the first time. She's kind of our eye line into this film, our point of view. And that, like, Kirsten Dunst's character is just numb to seeing all of this various violence all over the place. And we have another character who is just, he loves the adrenaline rush. Like, he loves the thrill of just being out there in the battlefield. But then we have this little girl who, she's experiencing these horrors for the first time and experiencing what you and I would most likely experience, seeing these things. It's absolutely disturbing. It really, really is. But looking at it from the photography perspective, I've always personally really enjoyed photography, so I really enjoyed the highlight on that. But looking at it, how they're capturing these photos, these images of these acts of violence, which are absolutely horrendous things. But the thing about photography and taking pictures of things is finding the beauty in these still moments and capturing moments. And it's interesting how it's presented here, how even amongst all of this darkness and carnage, there's still beauty that can be found. That's one of the things with this film. The visuals and the cinematography is fantastic. Like there's moments where like it's death and destruction, but it's presented in a way where it showcases beauty. Like there's this one part where everything is just on fire, but just seeing the sparks fly and everything, it's beautiful. It really is in a way. There's a real big emphasis on nature and the natural world and highlighting that as well. So I really enjoyed that. And really just seeing everything come together. I really enjoyed kind of the world building that's set up in this post-apocalyptic world that is really kind of modern day, but like a couple years into the future, I guess. It's obviously very timely. This year, 2024, presidential elections, the end of the year. So while the politics isn't the highlight of this film and isn't the big emphasis, it's definitely there for sure. I find it interesting how with this Civil War, again, like I do think the marketing is kind of misleading for this film because again, that was kind of one of my turnoffs to it was, oh, it's just going to be a political war movie, blah blah blah. I don't care, but that's not exactly what it's about. It's really about these journalists and seeing, like the movie is Civil War, but they never even give a reason for why these two sides are against each other. We never even have the motivations, which some people may say, and I've seen some reviewers and other critics say, oh, that's sloppy, what is even the point of the movie? Well, the point of the movie isn't the war, even though that's the name of the movie, and that's the setting of the film. What we're meant to focus on is these journalists and their mission amongst all of this, because that's often not something that's really highlighted in film, or in the news or whatever it may be. So I quite enjoyed that, and we get great performances from each of our actors here. Everything was just really great. It's definitely one of those films that it's like it's a really well made film, and you don't want to, like, you don't love it because it's not a fun movie, but it's a really intense, depressing movie, but it has its moments of beauty and it's worth it. It's a really well made film. It's a shame seeing Alex Garland on the marketing campaign talk about how after this movie he's done with film and he's fallen out of love with filmmaking, because I mean clearly he is such a talented guy when it comes to this. Such a shame that we could be losing that in the industry. But I mean, it was a great film. It was a really well made film, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. Guys, go check out Civil War, playing now in theaters. If you've seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, if you're going to talk spoilers, mark those in the comments. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I keep it up to date on everything goes on in the movie life.